I'm CK. Today we've got another from Thonk Synth's new line of in-house modules. This is the t04 CAS. It's an attenuverter, a mixer, normalizer. It allows reduction in signal and boost in signal, and it's got some other handy features in it in a relatively small package. So we'll put it together, see how much fun it is to put together, then put it in the rack and see how we can control our CVs with it. And I hope you enjoy the video. The bag, full DIY kit, build document, QR code, and of course it's from Thonk, and I got it directly from Thonk. Feels like it's going to be a relatively quick build. Let's see what the front panel looks like. We've got A, B, C, and I think that normalizes across it. Wow. See these? There are little ripples around the jacks, as if whatever the layer coating or what they did when they applied the front surface isn't quite smooth. They need to get a better fella doing that for them. We've got A in, which will cascade to B and C, or you can have B and C coming in. Then we've got 3 outs, each with an LED, and they're bicolor LEDs according to the documentation, so we'll see what that means. Then we've got mix A, mix B, and mix C, center vertical, and then minus and plus. So I think you can increase the value by 2x, so you can really boost the volume of a module and mix it across. We'll see what that all does when we get it put together. A couple of stickers, I already have those. Let's look at the circuit board. And it probably has surface mount pre-installed. Of course I can't get into it. And I left my scissors on my other workbench. There, just rip it open like a beast. Okay, we've got surface mount, all surface mount installed, and these are they're 074, 074, so 2 op amps, a couple of electrolytic caps. I think those are diodes because they're coming from the power supply. Resistors, some very tiny caps, and something down here, I don't know what that is. And I don't believe, I don't see a number on it, and I couldn't read it if I could. It's so tiny. There's a mechanical bag. We'll look at that in a second. Here's panel nuts and washers and a red thingy. Is there a jumper? There may be a jumper on this board too. And we've got knobs. We'll take a look at the knobs because I'm a personal knob snob. And these are okay. They're not great, but they're okay. Just simple press-ons. At least they've got a little half circle so you can get them on right. So you don't have to worry about getting the index marks out of line with each other. And another Thonk Synth button. I have one of those already. And let's see what's in here, because we should. Maybe this chain, no, it wouldn't chain, but I wonder what that jumper block is for. Maybe there'll be a little, well, there's the pin header that the jumper block's going to go on. And we've got our LEDs, ribbon connector, fine, LEDs. Oh no, they didn't take the panel nuts off the jacks for me, wah, wah. Come on. I'll do that off camera. You don't need to see me taking jacks off. Power connector. They're not using shieldeds, interestingly enough. And these are all 100K pots. They're very tiny. They're tiny pots. Let's see what colors these LEDs have. And again, they're bicolor. So we're going to feed voltage into them in the standard direction, which is this, and that's orange. Now we'll reverse the voltage, and it is white. Okay, I think that tells you whether it's attenuating or amplifying. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at the actual usage later. So as you can see, it's going to be pretty quick. Let's see, where's that jumper? Thanks to Devin H, E-A-T-C-H, designed by Matthias Herman. Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. So it can operate in parallel mode or cascade mode, and that's set by a jumper. I'm surprised. Let me look at this. As we look at the... God darn it, close your little offer window. So it's cascade mode with this setting. Output of channel 1 is mixed into 2 as long as no cable is into output 1. Output of 2 is mixed into 3 as long as no cable is patched into output 2. So that's, it'll cascade through them all, and then output 3 will be, interesting to say 1, 2, and 3, and this is A, B, and C. And it'll all come out there. Or parallel mode, and both the outputs of channel 1 and 2 are mixed directly into channel 3 as long as no cords are patched into the outputs. Now, again, I would have preferred this not be a jumper. Would have been nicer had they put a switch on the front panel. To do that, there's space, because this just means if you want to change, if you have a if you plug different modules in that you want to do something else with, you have to reach back here and move the jumper. I don't think that's great, but that's the way it is. I wonder what, and then, oh, that's what that is. So that's it, not too many pieces. We'll put this together pretty quickly and see how it works. And I'll get the soldering iron heated up, but more importantly, it's that time. I got a new sponge for my soldering iron rest, and we'll do the first inflation when we get back. Back in a bit. Okay, we're almost ready to start building this thing, but first we have that special day in everybody's workshop where this old sponge from my soldering iron stand has become nasty. So we'll throw that away. We got a new one. Now set it in there. And I'll get, where's my, here it is. Get a little bottle of water. And let's watch it grow. Ah, so satisfying. Okay, let me get set up for the actual build. Went to Thonk's website and pulled up the build guide, even though, as I mentioned, I don't think we're going to need much of it. I'm just looking, there's the intro stuff. Okay, we're going to do power header, then the single header, then just put the parts on. Oh, okay. So we've got something else that we will be doing that we probably was good to look at. So let's get started. We're going to start with the power header. And the power header goes on this side next to the electrolytic caps. And I'm going to solder one pin. Let that cool a little bit, see if it's all flat to the board. It probably is, but I'm going to press on it with my thumb and reheat it anyway. Just see if it gets any movement. Nope, it's all good. So we'll do the rest of the pins. Now we will take the pins for the jumper block, do the same thing, or relatively the same thing. Make sure you don't try and put them in the potentiometer pins, which are just above these. And this one's, since it's a single row, they're definitely going to be a little cattywampus. No, I did it just fine. Okay. Do the other two pins. And double check this pin, give it a little more solder, 'cause I wanna. And now we're going to put all the componentry on the board. Again, I'm going to do the jacks last. I'm going to put the pots on first, and again, since they all do the same thing, they're all 100K, so you don't have to worry about which one goes where. They all are interchangeable. Now, I'm going to set the LEDs in first before I put the jacks on, just because that makes me feel better. And there are plus signs on the board where the long lead, the anode of the LEDs, will be going. And of course, we're just setting everything in place now. We're not soldering anything yet. Now, I forgot to take the panel nuts off the jacks. Little camera skip while I do that. And now I'm going to mount these on. So that's pretty straightforward. Now the next bit is not, because again these potentiometers are kind of shorter than the ones we usually get. So what they guide us to do is put washers, put 3 of the provided civil washers on each of the green pots. I hope we have enough. It's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This will make them even with the top of the jacks, so that the panel is not at an angle or flopping around or anything obnoxious like that. Gives us less threads to grip on the potentiometer panel nut, but I think we'll be able to deal with that. And now we will put the panel on, get it all settled over everything. I don't care about the LEDs right now, I just care about the jacks and the potentiometers. And yeah, that came out very even. That's nice. So I'll get my little clamp and they say to put panel nuts on now, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to solder a couple of things first and then put panel nuts where those went. Oh, by the way, because I've been asked a couple of times, that clamp I'm using right there, this black clamp, is from Wolfcraft, and I picked it up at Home Depot in the United States. I'm sure it's available in other locations, but obviously it's very handy. So what I'm doing here is just doing one jack and the support legs on one potentiometer, and then I will put the jacks on those. I mean, not the jacks on those, I'll put the panel nuts on those. So I've got those reasonably secure. I can get rid of the clamp now. And now I will solder all the rest of these pins back here, except for the LEDs. That's all the jacks. Now we're going to do the LEDs, and this is kind of a your choice kind of thing. You could have them poking right on through with 2 or 3 millimeters sticking out, or you can have them flat against the front panel, and that's what the build guide describes, so we'll do it the way the build guide does, because I don't have a particular preference one way or the other. We'll take a little painter's tape, masking tape, 7-day tape, whatever your regionalism calls it, and we'll put it over the top of them, and then push a little bit to snug them down, and they're adhering to that area. And I had this, there we go. Now we will solder the pins, the legs on those. Now we can take the tape off, and the LEDs are flush with the front panel. We trim the legs. Now, even though it's a simple kit, I still want to follow my standard procedure and take a look to make sure I've soldered everything. Nothing worse than getting things together and saying, oh, it's not working, and realizing you didn't solder something. Okay. Now we'll put all the panel nuts on. Now we'll put the knobs on. And again, they've got a flat spot inside them, so it's easy to index them correctly. Now we'll take the little caps, and I'm going to put the jumper block on now, and I'm going to put it in cascade mode. That's where I'll start. We may change it later, may not, depends, because it's a little bit, again, as I say, a pain. And since this is not a shrouded connector, we have to make sure that we're getting the red stripe on the side that says red on the circuit board. So there we go. That's the front, the side, the back, the other side, the top, and the bottom. Now we'll get this thing to doing a little mixing and attenuating. Now I'll give this a go. I'm not putting it in my main workshop rack. I'm going to use my little box that I built a couple of months ago to do calibration and testing on my workbench without having to mess with the rack. And for this, since it's basically just signal manipulation, not audio necessarily, we'll just pass on that. So right now, as on the scope, you can see I'm coming from this Rottennest VCO from the triangle wave, and that's the yellow trace on the top. The bottom is the output from the input 1 mixer on the CAS. I'm going through a copycat from Patching Panda to make sure we have all that together. So with it vertical, you're not getting any signal out. So the magenta line is reasonably flat. So we can bring it up slowly, and you can see that's an attenuated version of the triangle wave. Now when I go to the 3 o'clock position, that's basically the same, and then I can make it double size. And you can see from the, well, you could do the measurements on the division to see that. Now if I go the other way, it will invert the signal. So where there's peaks on the original, there's now valleys on the other side. And that's very handy. So I've got this in Cascade. I want to see what I can do here See what happens, because that's that signal with the B knob not doing anything. Oh, you also notice the LED is white, meaning negative. Now it is positive, and you can see, look at that, it's clipping. That's pretty interesting when I go all the way up when it's in cascade mode. So let me do this. I'm going to have that there, then take B up, and B is simply, it's raising the voltage floor to begin with, and then it peaks out. I think it does plus minus 5 or 0 to 10. So look at that. That's an interesting shape. Let's see if I take it and go cascade it all the way down to C. And now we've got that, and I can make that flatten out completely, or let's do an inversion on the C side. And now I'm inverting on the B, but I want to go inverted on the A, and then, oh no, this has got a lot of possibilities. Look at the way that waveform is changing all around. And then when we pass through 0, oh my. Oh, this is going to be very interesting. Let's look at another waveform. Let's look at this complex waveform that this sends out. I'm not sure it's doing it. There's a pulse width. And let me vary the pulse width on that. Take it wide. Now I'm going to go back to the A output. And we can do everything we expect. So this is what it does. And again, it's pretty neat. Let me go all the way down to C again. Now I could try and do I would be interested in doing the parallel side too, but I got to reach underneath and move that jumper. There should be a switch right here to do that. You got the room. It would be relatively easy to do, because again, you've got the jumper here, guys at Thonk. You've got the jumper here, and if we took those traces out and those holes out, you have plenty of space to put on switch in there, 2-position switch in there. I don't know why you didn't. Maybe to save some money, but it wouldn't be that much money. So that's what this does. It's got a lot of manipulative abilities here to do interesting things with your wave. Let me change the pulse width again. And you can see it's tracking very normally and naturally. Up, positive, negative. So you can, again, you can invert. So you could do, well, you could obviously invert CV for note values. You could invert CV for a VCO trigger. You could invert CV for an ADSR ramp. That could be very interesting. I don't have an ADSR in my little test bin, so I can't check that. Let me try this other. Let me go output on this other LFO. No, that's not going to work. There it goes. Okay, but I gotta go into roll mode. So you can see how that's going with that LFO triggering off. You can see we've got it set so they actually cross. I can take that cross out so the bottom line's almost flat. Then I can come up and have it clip. So there's a lot of potentials here. As you saw, it's a very quick build, very simple build. It would be a great first build, and it's a very useful little thing. Look, you can see it going from positive to negative voltage all the way along, which is also very neat. So that's it. Again, except for that one little issue that I have with that ought to be having a switch there instead of having to put a jumper on the back, this all looks really good. And I hope you enjoyed the video.